This week's episode is brought to you by the Top Podcast Book Club. If you're interested in reading a book and having a discussion with us, which we'll talk about at the end of each month, go ahead and check the description for Discord. Join it and join our book's discussion where you can vote on what book we're going to read next and we can discuss the book together. We're also going to try to keep the books under 15 hours, so if you have Spotify Premium, you can read along with us for free. Hope to see you there. Welcome to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Rob. Joined with me are my friends Lou.
Heyo.
And Mike.
Aloha. How's it going?
It's going, but each week we'll start off with an icebreaker. Lou, what icebreaker do you got for us this week?
You were wrongfully accused of a pretty serious crime, and you get one last meal.
What's the crime?
What are we? I was gonna say something really inappropriate.
All right.
I don't know. You stole. Stealing.
Stealing. And I'm getting executed for stealing. Okay.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yep.
It's been pretty.
You stole the president's daughter.
He doesn't have. Oh, does he have a daughter?
I don't know.
You stole
this is all
Baron.
hypothetical, but I'm pretty sure he does.
Does he have a daughter? I think he has all dudes.
Seed is strong. Gosh.
I'm sure he's got his daughter somewhere in there, even if we don't know about her.
Oh well, that's a whole nother. That brother is worth $7 billion.
Dang.
Jesus, that's a lot of money.
Well, Lou,
Baron-
what's your pick? You go first.
He does have a. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize. Ivanka Trump.
Ivanka, yeah.
Ivanka, Pokemon.
That sounds right.
He's also had multiple spouses. One of his.
Most people
crazy
with that
stuff.
wealth have multiple spouses.
So I completely just derailed Lou.
He also has another one named Tiffany. Oh, she does not. She has more Trump than the other one. I'll tell you that much. Whoa.
What's your last meal?
I recently asked this question to a bunch of seniors, and a little bit of part of me was like, oh, they probably think because they're old that they're just gonna die soon. So I was like, hey, you guys need to plan this quickly. But yeah, okay, my meal. I'm gonna do a Wagyu Sando, which is gonna be like super delicious, beautiful white Japanese bread. Maybe some teriyaki sauce, and that's it. Oh, and the beef. And probably, if I only could pick two, I'll probably like a pesto, lots of cheese, al dente, lots of herbs.
Mm-hmm. You got one, Mike?
Yeah, I'd get the smash burger or the double cheeseburger. It's essentially the same thing from Red Coat Tavern in Royal Oak with the fancy meat. I forget what it's called. It starts with a P. You can look up the menu if you really want to know. With the side of garlic parm wings from B-Dubs.
Well, I didn't know we could just pick different restaurants. You know.
Oh, dude, you got to look up some last meal YouTube. It's a whole thing.
It's very different than
people
Lou's
go
question.
hard.
Yeah, I get you. I'm talking about prison, not we're in it for a crime. You get one choice.
No, like there's a guy who does shorts where he recreates the last meal of famous serial killers, and some of them go hard, and this is not even close to that. So yeah, some garlic parm wings from B-Dubs and fries from Shake and Shake.
Oh, the shoestring fries.
I love shoestring fries.
Shoestring
My
fries.
least favorite fry. Shoestring fries.
Yeah, they're okay.
If it makes you feel any better, my second choice would have been like a steak fry.
I feel
the
like
exact
wedges and
opposite
steak
of-
fries
Wow.
are my least favorite. But we can do a top 5 fry ranking at some point.
Ooh, that'd be
Fat
fun.
fry.
I thought you were talking about like I think it's called Mythical Kitchen, where they have like famous people and it's like, all right, what's your last meal? And then they have like 5 different meals there, and I'm like, that's a little excessive. But no, I get you. I can't say I know what actual prisoners go through. Definitely a steak. Long and cooked long and slow, medium rare. some form of potatoes. Depends on the day. Right now, I might say cheesy potatoes. Some nice fresh bread. You know, it's like you pull it apart and it's still steaming. Some good maybe some like butter on there, and then probably just some nice corn. Yeah, I'm a simple man. Basically, my breakfast meal every year. Or my birthday meal, not my breakfast meal. Oh my gosh, that'd be so expensive.
I was like, you're living the dream, big dog.
Yeah.
Your arteries are gonna be gone.
What's cholesterol? You know.
What is cholesterol?
I have
Honest
no idea.
tombstone.
I've heard about it my whole life, but I don't know.
All I know is Ron Swanson does not have it. Well, Lou, what are we talking about this week?
Today we're talking about top 5 favorite bad movies. In the beginning, I
God
suggested
created the heavens and the earth. Nailed
Oh,
it.
there we go. Jesus. In the beginning, I said it has to be under a 50 in Rotten Tomatoes, and then it has to be a box office flop. But that is very
I
hard to
did it.
do. That is not easy to do, and I did not want to do the research. And so I think the percentage-wise, my highest percentage is a 57.
Oh, darn.
Yep.
I'm going to leave it how it is, but I'm going to make a comment when I get to the one that replaced. I think we had in the chat we had bumped it up to 55.
Yeah.
And we eliminated the monetary requirement entirely because I also wasn't trying to do 3 Google searches per check to see if a movie qualified.
My
Yeah,
honorable
way
mentions
too
was
much.
huge because I'm just like, well, no, that's not a box office flop.
So yeah, this is me trying to be specific, but that did not work out that well. But a lot of what I like about Rotten Tomatoes, which a lot of people I think are not happy with Rotten Tomatoes, right? They have a pretty bad reputation. Holy moly. Shushing Schweiz. Is that is that true? Do you guys
Yeah, I think the critics score you can kind of ignore, but it is nice that it gives you the critic score and the viewer score.
Yeah.
That's
I'd say
exactly what
the
I was gonna
audience
say.
score is nice, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
what was it? Was it Joker? There was some movie that had like a freaking 0 for the critic score and like a 90 something in the
I don't know about
audience
Joker,
score in the last few
but
years.
There's
I
this
don't
movie
remember
that
what movie it was.
There's this movie I've never
Yeah.
brought up before on the podcast called Last Jedi. Critics high score, fans no awful audience score. But I've heard the Joker, yeah, like the film was kind of like that, where critics hated it, but audiences loved it.
Yeah. I also noticed doing my research that Rotten Tomatoes loves 80s movies and ranks most of them that was popular very high. That I don't think
Nostalgia.
wouldn't even get made if that movie came out nowadays.
I wonder if they would rank Willow. You guys
What'd
seen
you say?
Willow? Willow, it's like one of the like big
heard
80s
of it.
fantasy movies. It's awful. It's 100% carried by nostalgia.
Yeah,
Me
the
and
sequel
Cantwell-
looked terrible.
Oh yeah, I heard that's even worse.
Do you guys remember the Kung Fu Kangaroos? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I remember the Kung
No.
Fu Pandas. But frankly, the Kung Fu Kangaroos is a way better name.
Is this a fever dream?
No, there's those.
No,
I remember Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah,
No, no.
Down
it's
Under.
called. We're getting sidetracked.
Anyways.
But Wars of Virtue, pretty good. 1999 family fantasy. I recommend it. All right, so my number 1 is that what you're
5.
asking?
You want to go with your
Number
number
five.
5? We'll build up to number 1.
That's like eating That's like eating the 10 wing on the.
Go the opposite way for hot ones. Going
Oh,
yeah,
reverse.
that's kind of fun, actually.
I swear, if I ever get invited to that show, I'm gonna be an absolute insane person.
Are you gonna be
My-
more insane than Conan?
No, well, Conan was pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. And then what was his name? What was the Asian that pooped himself?
Oh gosh, I haven't seen that one.
You haven't
What?
seen that one. There's an Asian that pooped himself. I can't remember his name. I feel bad.
Well, what's your number
Sidetrack,
5?
Guys, slow down, buddy.
It's a
Slow
wild
down.
week when Lou's the one keeping us on track.
I know. All right, now my number 5. I don't. Any of these are. I love all of these, so I don't really have any of them in order. My number 5 is Three Ninjas. Movie came out August 7th,
Dude,
1992.
yes.
It is I can only say this is the beginning of my love for anime, not anime, but Japanese culture. It's just 3 cute little white kids just beating up grown men, karate style. and I'm just all for it, man. Their grandpa gets kidnapped. They find out if their dad is an FBI agent, and they just go nuts, and they just abuse adults, which I feel like was really popular back in the '90s. Watching kids just beat up adults all day. So yeah, that's my number 5. It has a 35 on the Rotten Tomato, but a 53 on the popcorn meter, which
The audience.
It's not good either, but it is.
it's above.
It is indeed.
I
More
think
so, I was saying like that's one that's an easy pass. Like you don't have to like a lot of mine squeak through at like 54, 55 exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this
Yeah.
movie.
You've never seen Three
I have not.
Ninjas? Oh my gosh! And then Three Ninjas Strike Back when they bring the girl in.
Oh,
Whoa!
so it's 4 ninjas.
Not that I have a. Okay, I'm happy that we're all on the same page here. I just think it's cool. Women power. Women can kick butt too. All right, that's me.
All right, so my number 5 came out in 2001, and what I did is because at the time I was trying to fit Lou's insane criteria into my movies, it would have been just impossible for the critic, audience, and the box office flop to all align. So I averaged all mine between the critic and the audience one. But my number 1, I came in for this. This one fit all the criteria. It is like the 2001 movie with an average of 36% on Rotten Tomato. It is Left Behind, the movie starring Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron. That's his name, right?
That's
Yeah.
a name, yeah.
I always get him and James
I
Cameron,
would
the
believe
director,
you.
confused. Kirk Cameron. He was also in Fireproof. You might know him from that. The Hollywood actor guy, curly hair. But this movie is about it's after the books, which is about the end of times. The people that were left behind after the rapture and all that. And it is so cheesy and so bad. And it's like one of those movies that's just fun to watch how bad it is and how corny and how cheesy it is. And I got a 5-star review from each of my movies off of Rotten Tomatoes that I think are either humorous or, something like that. This one comes from 2014 from Rotten Tomatoes. It says, Rotten Tomatoes always gets it wrong when it comes to good movies. Being a leftist website with only destruction of sanity in America, no wonder and nothing new about this tomato meter. Noah was pathetic, but this sucked up website promoted it. We Heaven is for real. Sons of God, God's Not Dead, etc. were great hits in the box office, contrary to what this rotten website predicted. And just the how
Jeez, that's hardcore.
it is.
Yeah.
This guy was angry. I could just hear the keyboard clacking from a decade removed, 11 years removed. And one thing that's just wild is like, because it deals with the Antichrist, and they're like, well, we have to give him some crazy power. So one of my favorite powers the Antichrist has that just came out of nowhere is he can stop time and then rewrite everyone's history, and like then the moment actually plays out. It's wild.
Oh, just like in the real Bible.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Good callback, directors. But it's a wild movie. Don't go in with any crazy expectations, but I hear it's better than the 2014 or whatever the newest one was, that's saying something.
Oh,
That's when you grew up watching, right?
I did. There was a trilogy, and I watched all 3 of them, and I didn't realize how amazingly awful like the movie itself was until I rewatched it with Becca.
it's like half of your relationship, Robert, is just you showing Becca media that she didn't watch because she was a homeschool kid.
Part of it, yeah. But I would think this would fit under the homeschool,
That's fair.
That's my number 5. What you got, Mike?
All right, my number 6 coming in at a critic score of 30, but an audience score of 80%, averaging out to exactly 55%. Venom. Nobody I know really liked this movie that much. Probably Jacob enjoyed it. But I genuinely enjoyed it. I laughed. I thought it was a good time. I thought Tom Hardy was pretty darn good in what he had. And the buddy cop dynamic worked for me. And I bought it on Blu-ray.
Talking about the first Venom movie?
The first one, yeah. Nothing after that.
Yeah, it's weird. Lou says I love to hate things, and I thought that was a fun movie. I didn't take itself
Yeah.
too seriously. I didn't think it was like, jaw dropping, but it was a fun movie.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't like great art or anything, but it was fun.
I feel stupid because I was like, who's the other buddy in the buddy cop?
The symbiote.
I'm like, that is it was Venom. You silly man. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I like the second one better with Woody Harrelson. I think
Oh,
he brought
really?
Is that
a
Carnage?
nice little. Yeah, I like Carnage quite a bit. I think that was good. But
Maybe I'll have to actually give it a shot.
I've only seen the first one, yeah. We did get a banger of a song for the first one, though.
Venom. Yeah, that's fair.
Also, Mike, are you just going extra, coming in at number 6? You got an extra one for us?
No, sorry. One of my movies is the 6th movie in a franchise, and I keep seeing the number 6 typed into my my list. So my fault. That was my number 5.
Solid one. Well, Lou, looks like we're coming back around to you. What's your number 4?
My number 4, I had to pick a movie like this. I had to pick like a hack and slash monster, like BA movie, but I couldn't figure out which one until I remembered one of my first ones growing up. Came out in 2002. It has a 57 on Rotten. It's my highest rating one. It has a 57 on Rotten Tomatoes, but a 68 in the popcorn meter. It is Blade 2.
Nice.
I absolutely loved this movie as a child. I watched Blade 2 before I watched Blade 1. Blade 2 I think is so much better than Blade 1. I think they spent more money on Blade 2. But what really got me is that all my life I always seen vampires as just the classic teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But Guillermo, what's his name?
Del
Guillermo
Toro?
Guillermo
Something like that.
del Toma. I didn't want to butcher his name. I don't know if it was his idea, but the idea of having the vampires just have their whole mouths open, kind of like an alien situation, really messed me up as a kid. I thought it was equally cool and scary at the same time. Yeah, and it has a really good cast. It has like Norman Reedus in it. It has Ron Perlman, which I think in all of these like sci-fi movies, Ron Perlman is just always just like the bad guy kind of, which I think he just fits the part so well. And then I always really liked his sidekick, Blade's sidekick, called Whistler. I don't know. Anybody's Blade fans, I apologize. But yeah, just high speed, killing things. And the sewer scene is really good too.
Never actually seen any of the Blade movies, but I love the scenes in Community where they talk about Blade.
Yeah,
Like the Detroiters.
I didn't get that episode.
I don't think I've got to that episode yet either,
Second
though.
season. It's pretty funny.
Oh, it's fun.
It's like, just give him a trench
Yeah.
coat, and he's like slowly building this guy into just looking like Blade.
Yeah, I recommend it. Even the third one in Trinity, I think, is even good. I saw that movie with my dad, and there was a guy who got up and started doing the fighting scenes. And I was just like, oh, this guy is the coolest guy ever. I bet you he doesn't have a bedtime. My,
I want what
cool.
he's having.
I want what he's having. I was like, should I get up? Or should we all get up?
Stand
that
up.
was
The only Blade movie I've seen is Deadpool and Wolverine. So
Still haven't seen that one yet.
it's a good movie. I think I don't know if I'd say it's the second or third best Deadpool movie, but 2, in my opinion, is the best.
2 is pretty good.
All right, my number 4. I know we were talking about 80s fantasy, I think 2 episodes ago, but this one comes right from that time of 1980, and it's no one would have seen this coming. It's The Return of the King, the animated movie. It is. I mean, this whole movie is. I feel like for me, my number was, but a lot of it is. It's so bad it's good. But this one averaged at 53% on Rotten Tomato, and its animation and thing is nightmare fuel. But man, as a kid, I loved it, especially before I was allowed to watch the Peter Jackson because that was rated PG-13. I just loved that. It's got like the like the Witch King is almost like Skeletor. It sounds like it's like that, has that effect of everything for his voice. It's like two floating eyeballs. It's hilarious to go watch. It's got some banger songs though, so there's that. And one fun fact about it is one of the studios that helped animate it ended up becoming Studio Ghibli. So you can kind of
cool.
see some of the influences there, and I think it's the same studio that did the Hobbit animations as well for that movie. And my review comes from 2018. This person says, it's far superior in every way to Peter Jackson's childish interpretation. This version has far more gravitas, better acting and music, and is closer to Tolkien's book. The only thing Jackson's version has better is special effects / CGI. And I want what he's having. Better than one of the best movies ever made by most people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what the gravitas
Everybody's
is.
allowed to have opinion on life.
Yep. It's I should have looked and should have seen one of his other reviews where that could have been fun. Mike,
I wish I thought to do this.
you've seen this movie?
I saw the Hobbit. I did not see the Return of the King. Do they cover the middle ground between those stories?
There was this other studio that came in and they're gonna make 1, 2, and 3. They're gonna make all of them. But they spent all their budget on doing 1 and 2, so it ends after Two Towers and Helm's Deep. And then there's no third movie, so Rankin Bass then got the third movie going. So it's like, I think it's retrograded, where they have the actors act out the things for this middle movie, and they draw over it. And that one also has some pretty crazy designs. That's funny. Like the Balrog just looks like a guy in a monkey suit with fiery wings. Great time, but I think I didn't even check and see what that one was, but this one, it does it for me in all the right ways. Mike, what's your number 4?
All right, get ready for some horror movies because there's going to be a run of them here. For number 4, I'm going to go with, coming in at a 43% critic score, 57% audience score, averaging out at 50. M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, which, I mean, I didn't think it was like his best movie ever, but I did not think it was going to be rated anywhere near this low, which I was delighted to see because I enjoyed the movie immensely. One is one of the 2 or 3 movies I ever guessed within the first 5 minutes. Like, I absolutely nailed the twist, to the extent that the girl I was dating at the time, she was like, "You gotta watch this movie." And I was like, "Oh, it's this, right?" And she was like mad at me because I got it so precisely, so quickly. So that, probably bumped it up a couple points in my estimation. But also, I liked that the main character is blind. It's cool to feel seen since I can't see. And I like the way when she's moving alone through the forest, they move the camera like right up on her back, like it's super tight. And so even though you're seeing something because it's a movie and they can't just have the screen be black, you can't see any more than she can really. And so it does a really interesting job of like, oh, I'm aware that I'm in the woods and there's all this stuff happening and it's scary, but it's really more the audio that and the idea of what we've seen previously, so the things out there with her. I really liked that, and so I enjoyed it. Twist wasn't anything you can't see coming from casually thinking for half a second, but it was a fun time.
What year did this come out?
It's a wonderful question.
Early 2000s, I think.
So I feel like I heard people talking about it at school, but you know me in horror.
The Village came out in, 2004. Not really a horror movie. You would absolutely movie.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. I would what?
Oh, sorry. You totally fine. Like, it's really not scary. So there's some suspense. It's scary at the same way Signs is scary, but a little less scary.
Didn't mind Signs. Lou, do you see The Village?
I've seen parts of it. I couldn't watch the whole thing because I don't think it's a good movie. And but I wanted to know what happened in the end, and I don't have the clairvoyance of knowing what's happening to the end of a movie. I think I purposely.
It's not something I do on the regular, but like 2 or 3 times, I've absolutely crushed it within the first couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah,
and also like, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go. Oh,
Well,
there's
there's a field of like 1,000 movies I've guessed wrong. So like, let's make this clear. It's not like 97% of the time I'm wrong. It's like 99.97% of the time I'm wrong. Go.
70% of the time it works every time.
Mama.
I don't know. Yo, I think I watched a YouTube like rendition of the like a comedy sketch thing, and I got the movie, but I didn't have to wait. Like I didn't have to watch an hour and a half of it. But yeah, not bad. Not my favorite M. Night Shyamalan. Shyamalan. I do like his quote where he's like, he made a movie with only Indians and it didn't do well, and his father was like, "You got to put white people in your movie, and your movies will do well." I was thinking, you got to use the white man to make money. I think is hilarious.
The practicality of Asian culture is chef's kiss. Like,
Just how blatant they are.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Here's a question, kind of a side tangent. Do you guys think M. Night Shyamalan is carried by Sixth Sense? I know a lot of people are like, he kind of peaked there.
No, I don't think The Sixth Sense is even his best movie, personally. I think Split was a better movie within the Sixth Sense. No, I like The Sixth Sense a lot. I'd say it falls number 2 to Signs. And then Split, really good, and Unbreakable is pretty solid.
But you forgot about his best. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if the guy had stopped while he was ahead, if he had stopped before The Happening, I think that was the movie that he did, that like his first big budget movie. I think he could have walked away, a large amount of respect, but he just kept going. And he had a couple of things a little bit later in his career that I enjoyed. I think the Visit, probably a movie that would be allowed on this list, but I didn't want to just load it full of M. Night Shyamalan. I thought that one was fun. That was another one I guessed about halfway through. But yeah, he's got some decent ones, and one more that he was a producer, not a director, that we'll talk about later.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know he made like the Split and Glass movies.
Yeah. The last one sucked, but
Is that Glass?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the third one was called. I just remember being like, I am so deeply disappointed after Split.
Well, Lou, what's your number 3?
I'm gonna do a pivot because I also want representation. Because I've been a heavyset kid all my life. I'm gonna go with
Shallow Hal.
Heavyweights.
Nice. Oh.
Heavyweights.
Heavyweights. Came out in '95. You guys know? Have you guys seen this movie before?
I have.
No,
I don't remember
heard
much
of it.
about it, but I have seen.
Oh my god!
Isn't it a Disney movie too?
I think it
I
is
think
low
it is
key,
too.
which is crazy.
Wild.
It is a Disney movie. I do not promote fat camp. I think that's wild. I think sending your kid to camp.
cover.
Yeah,
Yep, that's
I think
about
sending
it.
your kid to camp because he's overweight, I think, is nuts.
Kids
it
aren't even
should
that
not be-
fat.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. But yeah, I think it's an awesome movie. I loved this movie as a kid. My favorite part was that they would go to camp and they would snack, right? So like they would hide all of their treats and they would like it was just like a snacking camp, and they just had a really fun time. But the idea is that Ben Stiller is the antagonist.
Carries the movie.
And he absolutely, I think, yes, he absolutely carries the movie. He's freaking ripped in this movie. And
For real, dude, this is like a weirdly stacked cast for
Yeah.
a random Disney movie.
yeah, because the camp is not doing well, it's going to go bankruptcy. They hire this new guy, which is Ben Stiller, and he actually tries to whip these kids into shape, but the kids revolt, and they do some pretty like torturous things to Stiller. So yeah, pretty good movie. I like it a lot.
It's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus. Give it a watch. Has 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, 77 in the popcorn meter. So people like it.
Yeah, I feel like definitely if you grew up with it, you love it. Because I remember all my youth group leaders were fans of it and everything.
Are you calling me old?
Yep.
Rough. Just
Came
because
out
you
of-
marry a younger wife, Robert, doesn't
Welcome to
make
the
you young.
club.
We all just talked at the same time. But my joke was funnier.
Probably.
Oh,
hear
no,
We know our roles.
don't do that. Don't do that.
My number 3 is a movie I loved as a kid, and now that I've seen kind of what people think of it, I'm scared to go back and watch it. Came out in 2003, and it's Daddy Daycare.
I think it holds up.
Does
I've
it?
recently watched
Okay.
the movie in the past 5 years.
Okay.
I
'Cause-
wouldn't watch Daddy Daycare 2.
well, no. Or is that Daddy Day Camp, right, or something?
Daddy Day Camp, yeah, whatever.
It doesn't
it
even
is,
have Eddie
but
Murphy, who's like,
It,
main
it
reason
holds
does
up.
well. But I didn't realize like that it was so hated. It has a 37.5 average on Rotten Tomatoes. And man, as a kid, I just loved it. Like I wish I could have went to that daycare, especially when it was like wild, like they had the kids riding the lawnmower and everything. And I just thought it was hilarious. It even has like Cheap Trick in it. Just fantastic movie. Like I said, love the mess out of the kid. Really like the humor. It's the only reason I knew who the Flash was because of that movie. Because I'm not a nerd, So, shots fired at one listener in particular. The review I got comes from 2023. It says, "Whatever you people say about this movie being, you're mental. It's good." Very aggressive people on the internet. Don't know why. Mike, you ever see Daddy Daycare?
I've seen it at least once, but I have no real recollection other than remembering it was funny.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you say it holds up, Lou. When did you watch it recently? Like how recently?
Just on a random Saturday in the past like 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get to the age where you wonder, oh, do I like this, or does it hold up, or does it suck? And I just had zero, like, thought of what is good and what is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it, and I was like, oh, no, this is good. This can stay.
That's how I felt about Napoleon Dynamite.
Mm.
I had to go back and double check.
I'm
That
not
movie
going to
held
rewatch that one.
up.
I know your mom hates that movie with a burning passion.
Yeah, she's wrong from time to time.
Same with your sister.
She's wrong all the time, so that adds up.
I can't say I agree with that for legal reasons.
That's just such an older brother thing to say.
What's your number 3, Mike?
We're gonna go with that one. 39% critic score, 51% audience score. So people don't like this movie. Averaging in at 45 total. Saw 6. I was gonna say Spiral from the Book of Saw, the one with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, but it came in at a freaking 56%, so I moved off it. Saw 6 is it's often considered the point in the Saw franchise where it becomes almost self-parody, like they've run out of realistic ideas for the traps, and it's just become completely over the top and insane. And that is a relatively valid criticism. The carousel scene in particular is just like somebody was out of their mind when they came up with that one.
Okay.
But for me, I think the strength of the Saw franchise is not on a movie-to-movie basis. It's in the greater story being told about Jigsaw and related characters. And I really enjoyed the direction this movie took in its grander story as it related to the original 7 movies. And for that reason, I really enjoyed it. And I didn't think it was that horrendously over. Like, it was over the top, but it didn't bother me that much. And I thought the insurance storyline was a nice change of pace. It was kind of interesting. It gave us some backstory on John that I enjoyed getting. So yeah, it's a Saw movie. If you're not into that, you're not gonna like this movie. But if you are, it's not a bad entry for my money.
How many of the Saw movies do you think would fit in this category?
Probably all of them, right?
Yeah. Box office wise, they
Jigsaw
doing really good.
Spiral doesn't. I highly doubt Saw 10 does. Saw is probably pretty well acclaimed. Saw 2 was also pretty well acclaimed. But I'm willing to bet. Oh, I think Saw 3 is the highest acclaim, so it can't inherently. I bet you 4, 5, and 6 all land in the.
Is this
the
the one
under
with the
55.
furnace? 6 the one with the furnace?
Furnace.
Someone has to like crawl through a furnace or something.
Oh, that was. That might have been 2.
Was it 2?
I want to
think
say
it was
that's 2 as
2.
well.
Yeah, that's the one where they had to go get the antidotes, and the syringe was like in the back of the furnace, and then he pulled it off the chain, and it locked the door,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
and he wouldn't pass it through, and so him and the antidote burned up.
I didn't
Or
know
her.
they made a
I don't
Saw
remember who it
video
was.
game.
Did they?
Honestly, I heard it was pretty decent.
Oh wait, yeah. I think the demo was. They had the demo on 360. So yeah, puzzle
That's
game.
wild.
I've been toying with the me and Hot Kyle have been talking about doing a reaction podcast when the new Alien TV show comes out. Stay tuned for that if you're interested. And it's kind of got me interested in playing the Alien Isolation video game.
Heard great things about it.
So have I.
I recently-
Nothing but good things.
I recently saw Romulus, and I loved it. I thought it was
So good.
so good. The choice to do the camera the way they did kind of threw me off in the beginning,
Mhm.
and then I was completely immersed by the end of it.
Yeah, that one also didn't quite make. I was bummed. I really was hoping that
That it
one
did
would
do
be
well.
poorly received because I wanted to talk about it, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even close. But something else me and Kyle have talked about is going through and doing episodes on each of the Alien movies,
Yeah.
and then potentially having you guys on so we can have the absolute brawl over Alien 3 that we've all been just super excited to have.
Oh yeah, totally.
Or at least I am. I'm so excited to do that episode someday.
One day I watch
Oh, yeah.
Aliens.
You got to, man. It's a.
I feel like at
it's
this
a
point it's
banger.
almost like a running gag, though. Got to keep it up for the pod. I'll secretly watch it and won't tell anyone.
There you go. You can watch Alien 3 and just pretend you skipped Aliens.
Mhm. I think it's crazy that hearing the praise for Romulus, because I watched one YouTube video and the guy was not impressed with it. So it's kind of nice to hear that it did do well, because I think more Aliens movies are a good thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. The 2 previous were not good. Prometheus, Prometheus was fine. Alien Covenant was brutal.
Back to Saw 6. This is the one. It opens up where they basically the people have to cut off, see who can lose the most weight. We'll put it as that.
Oh yes, the intro
trap.
game was yeah, that one was crazy. Cost you an arm and a leg if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. So killer games. Lou, what's your number 2?
My number 2, I'm debating on which one I want to do my number 2. Let's go this one. My number 2 came out in 1990. With Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kindergarten Cop.
Dude,
That's hated?
It's 54 on Rotten Tomatoes and 52 on the popcorn.
Really?
meter.
That's outrageous.
It's not a tumor.
It is one of the. That's so funny you said that. I think it is still one of the most quotable movies of all time. The kids absolutely killed it. It's not a tumor. Boys have penises. Girls have vaginas.
Vagina, yes.
I'm not a policeman. I'm a princess. You kids are soft. You lack discipline. Yeah, I think it's so funny that they got this Mr. Olympian to do the Predator movie, and it was like, you know what? We're gonna put you in some weird movies, dude. And he just was cool with it. He was in Twins.
Actually,
It's like check
I've
cash.
heard him do interviews, and he essentially was like, "I'm going to do an action movie and then a not action movie. And he wanted
That's
to like
crazy.
show that he could totally knock it out of the park
Yeah,
in multiple areas. And so like he was intentionally going back and forth.
yeah, crazy. I don't ever. I mean, if you put top 15 favorite actors or best actors, he would not be in the list for me. I think he's a little one noted.
But no, favorite very potentially could crack the
Favorite,
15.
yeah. So very good. It's very simple. He's I think he's he's an undercover cop, and there's like a drug situation. There's a drug lord. His kid goes to one of these schools, so he becomes a teacher, and he falls in love with another teacher. Yeah, and some shenanigans happen. But I have this like
He's not supposed to be a teacher. Is the thing that he goes with a partner. The partner's supposed to be the teacher.
She gets sick.
He's
Yes.
just supposed to be muscle, and she gets like the
Sick.
flu.
Yeah.
She's and
so good. I've distinctly remember the fire alarm scene for some
Mhm.
reason.
It's
just-
kind of intense.
Yeah, and him just being able to just coordinate a bunch of kindergartners. I don't know. I think it was written really well.
Yeah. Also,
yeah,
the scene where he gets back to the motel and he's like, "Oh, somebody's in here," and it's his partner's like fiance, and he's like just wearing like her robe, and it's
Yeah.
like such an underwritten. I've never heard anyone talk about that scene, but it is one of the funniest scenes in the movie. It catches you off guard every time because you forget it's there, and then it's hilarious.
And then, like, his first day of school, he's going, and his partner's like, "You can't be packing heat." And she's like, "No, you can't have that one." She's like, "Oh, so the gut, like the shoulder belt." And he's like, just taking out these guns and everything.
We did a white elephant for Thanksgiving one year, and I brought the DVD copy of Kindergarten Cop, and admittedly less awesome, the Jackie Chan Karate Kid.
Boo.
Yeah, that one's not great, but I saw it. I was, you had to keep it under whatever a price, you know. I was like, those are fun movies. Kindergarten Cop's awesome. And my uncle got him, and he looks at the table because he didn't know who they were from, and goes, "Is this a freaking joke?" I was like, "What? No, give me those. I'll buy them back off you." So I think technically I bought both those movies twice.
I mean, he's a white elephant. You could have just stole him. Or no, made a trade.
Well, no, it was like afterwards. He got it, and he was like, "I think we did. You don't open, so nobody knows what
That's
the
no
gifts
fun.
are until you're done."
Also, the principal in that movie was hilarious. Just
Yes.
Yes.
little bossy woman bossing Arnold Schwarzenegger around. Great movie. I completely forgot about that movie. I'd always see it on your movie library, but haven't watched it since who knows when. That was your number 2, Lou, right?
My number 2.
I
Yep.
remember. That was the most we've gotten for it, so I had to remember who said it. My number 2 is a sequel to probably one of the most beloved Christmas movies of all time. It is Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. Came out in 1992. Has an average of 48.5 Rotten Tomato score.
Really?
Yeah.
40.
Are you going with the,
Which
the
tanked it?
percentage? Let me just have the intern look that up right quick. What do you think about Home Alone 2? I'll let you go first when I have to call the intern.
I honestly, I think I've seen it once in my life. I remember thinking it was fine, but I definitely didn't think it deserved to be anywhere near the 50s. I don't have the extreme love for it that almost everyone I've ever talked to seems to have, but like I didn't hate
Is
it.
it a Home Alone period? All the Home Alones, or do you like
Just
Home Alone 1 or
one
do
and-
you like 2?
Just 1 and 2 are like understood to be good, and then they go downhill after that because they lost Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
I prefer 1 to 2, excuse me, but I don't like hate 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump's in it.
Yeah,
That
our president was
Thank
in.
you
It's
for
become
bringing this
tradition
up.
to point that out.
just wanted, yeah. Wow. Look at this.
Look at us.
It feels less edgy now that he's in office again, but
Mm-hmm.
got to stick to the bit.
Yeah. It had a 35% critic rating and a 62% audience rating. It's not really.
Wow, the
Yeah.
critics tore that to pieces.
Mhm. And this was one that I had in my honorable mentions because since it was a sequel of such a beloved Christmas movie, it blew the box office numbers out of the water. But obviously, the percentage wise, most people didn't like it, or definitely not as close to the other one. And while Beck and I went back and watched it this Christmas, it's not as good as the first one. I don't think it's nearly as bad as 48.5%. I think there's some higher highs. Like, I think some of the jokes land better and it's kind of more over the top, but there is a lot of like, hey, look at this nod back to the first one, like very blatant, like we're just copy and paste. But there's also some good nods, like when not Marv, what's the other one, Harry, when Harry reaches out and you see like the M burned in his hand, you're like, oh, I know how he got that. And it's a good, it's a very fun movie in my opinion. And I got a 2024 review, came out on Christmas Day of this past year. This film is so funny, and it gives you the real meaning. Then it cuts off, so I don't know what's going on here. I have to be clear, it's not better than the previous one, but it has scenes that are much more hilarious. This movie is a classic, so if you didn't watch the sequel, that now is the time. And I agree. Go watch it. Don't expect it to be as good as the first one, but sit back and enjoy it. It's a fun movie.
I thoroughly like
the exactly right take. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just think completely opposite. I think the second one was way better than the first one.
Whoa.
I just think maybe it's the stunts, because the stunts got upped.
They did. Everything was cranked up to 11.
Yeah, and maybe that as a child, maybe that was just doing it for me. The high octane before Jackass was a thing.
I would have agreed with you before Beck and I rewatched it this year. Like in my head, I liked it better as a kid.
I might have to give it another watch.
Has one of my most sent gifts, though, is when Marv goes, never! I send that to my wife all the time. Mike, what's your number 2?
My number 2 coming in, this is the only one where it's lopsided like this. The critics score 51, the audience score 43, for a combined total of a 47% Rotten Tomatoes, is the M. Night Shyamalan produced movie Devil.
With the elevator?
With the elevator, yeah. So I really like movies that take place largely in a confined space. So essentially you learn that when a certain thing happens, there's this folk tale that the devil will then roam the earth freely for a day. And so the thing happens, and then you get these people, and they're in an elevator, and the elevator stops, and then one by one, the people start dying off, and so it becomes like a who did it, but you're trying to figure out which one of these people is actually the devil, and killing off all the people, and you start learning, why these people die, and so the main character has to kind of come to terms with this thing that has the devil coming after him, and he has to it's to deal with this thing and grow, and it was a decent twist. I definitely didn't see it coming. Kept me guessing the whole time. Wasn't great. None of these movies are. Well, I take it back. My number 1, I genuinely love and think is fantastic, and it's an outrage that it's on this list. But none of these movies are amazing. We're working with bad movies here, but as far as bad movies go, I think this one's really good.
Hey man, The Return of the King. It's the animated movie. Do you see this movie, Lou?
I did see this movie. I loved it the first time, and I think because I knew what was happening, I didn't like it as much as the second time. The acting,
it definitely doesn't hold up as well.
It doesn't hold up, and I feel bad because I thoroughly enjoy. I loved it so much that I was thinking,
that makes it good. It's like it's not. You can't rewatch a mystery movie and enjoy it as much either.
Yeah. I liked it so much that I was taking the stairs more because of that. Or I was making sure that I was the only one in the elevator. It took a while for me to be okay.
It's kind of difficult to discuss because it's a movie that is really built on not knowing, and so it's not one I'd want to give away.
They're trapped in an elevator. That's kind of the premise.
Yeah, it's trapped in an elevator. Start dying off. You don't know who. You're trying to figure out who's the one doing it. And even when it gets down to the final 2, you don't know for sure who's the one doing it. It's not like strictly from somebody's perspective. And so you're like, okay, you're getting down to it's down to the final 2, and you're like, one of them's the devil, and I don't know who it is. And yeah, I enjoyed it immensely.
Devil's the friends we made along the way. Come on.
The devil is. Oh.
Anyway, Lou, what's your number one?
My number one is a extreme nostalgia kick. It is just, I think, when you think of '90s culture, especially '90s like teen culture, I think it is just the perfect blend of this movie. Came out in '95, Empire Records. I expect that neither of you guys have seen this.
No, sir.
Correct?
No.
Okay. Yep. I wouldn't recommend it to you guys, but for me, this was like one of my mom's favorite movies growing up, and she kind of like introduced it to me at a very young age. So the idea is Renee Zellweger at a very... Did I say that right? Or did I just make a slur?
No, you know that.
Okay. Good. Not all jokes are funny. It's the whole idea is that everything's based in this record store. The record store is closing, but people are the employees are trying to get the record store, just trying to save the record store. And I think it's one of the first movies where I understood the idea of like character progression and the idea of how important unique characters are involved, because every employee at the store is trying to save the record store, but in different ways. But like everybody is also going through different like things as an older teenager, but they're all pulled together by the love of music, and it made me like love the idea of record stores. And when I went into my first record store, it was just dusty and it was weird, and I was like, why isn't there teenagers dancing to like 90s hip hop? It's the same idea of like the first time I ever got hurt. I expected, and don't shame on me, but I expected a nice developed nurse to come help me out. And then when I got a male nurse, I was like, what the heck is going on here? I was like, what is going on? Why is this man trying to touch me? Where is my nurse at? Yeah, side tangent. But I love the tracks. I mean, of course, a movie about a record store has to have good music.
Mm-hmm. It's got that Pac.
Yeah.
Got that Biggie.
Nope, they're white. So.
Well, you said '90s hip hop, so.
Seems like a safe guess.
So you got like Limp Bizkit. I don't.
Nope, I just said hip hop, but I didn't mean that. Grunge.
Ah.
White
So Nirvana, the overrated
Not even
band.
close to the same thing.
Nope, completely different. I'm just trying to promote. I'm just trying to create good. Oh my gosh.
You good there?
I'm over here
I'm
picturing. I went to the hat store today and I got myself a hat.
Good stuff. That's it for me. Shout out to Renee Zellweger.
I got the joke, by the way. It is clever. It took me a minute.
Thank you. I mean, I was the only one that could say the joke, so I have to carry the team.
Hey, Eminem can say it.
Hey, he did. That's so funny you said that. I thought Eminem never said the N-word.
Well, it's a W. I'm not saying it's a little different.
Okay. Oh, okay. I can say both because I'm mixed. Aha.
There you go.
I'm a daywalker. Sorry.
Sing for the moment. No, you're not. That's a ginger. Get out of here.
Are daywalkers ginger?
Yeah. Stop trying to appropriate my culture, dude.
You can't walk in the day though. You burn.
Hey, man. I was just called the daywalker at school. I don't know. Who knows?
Okay.
Leave us down in the comments. Who's the daywalker? All right, my number one movie, I was floored, was rated so well. Came out in 1991. I was afraid Lou was going to steal it, but did not. And it is Hook.
Shut up. That's an option?
That's averaged at 52.5%. Critics panned it with a 26% Rotten Tomato, and then it had a 76% fan, which I even... Oh, Lou's gone. Which I even thought was low for Hook.
Yeah, I agree. Both of those are way too low. I thought Hook was an absolute classic. It had Robin Williams.
It did. And it, like, kind of how we talked about The Princess Bride, or like we talked about how, I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but I've heard people describe it. It's kind of like it feels like it's a play almost, because you can see kind of some of the, you know, low budget things, but they incorporate it and it makes it, adds to the charm type thing, you know. I know we talked about that last week, definitely. But I feel like Hook's kind of a similar thing. They have some more bombastic set pieces, but for the most part, it's a fun movie. I think maybe just it wasn't what people were expecting it to be, but man, this movie was so fun. As a kid, the blue scorpion scene freaked me the heck out, getting trapped in a box and getting the poisonous scorpions freaking put in there.
I did not fully grasp as a child. I was the exact opposite. I did not grasp the absolute horror and dread that you were supposed to feel. I was just like, you're a bug. Like, I was processing it like they were just bugs, and I was like, why is this man freaking out about this box? And now, as like an adult, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's seriously messed up that it's in a kids movie.
Yeah. I think Becca said, I believe it's like the head of the children, I think is the voice actor for Zuko.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the 2024 review is, this movie is incredibly charming. As a child, it completely unlocked my imagination. As an adult, I admire the performances, the sets, and the music. Share it with children or sit back and relish in the nostalgia. I cannot fathom why critics couldn't leave their highbrows at home and become wrapped up in the enchantment. And I agree with that take.
Same.
And it
Excellent
wasn't a box office success, but it wasn't a box office flop. So it was going to be my honorable mentions, but that had to be my number one as soon as the box office thing was cut. Have you seen Hook, Lou?
No, never seen Hook. Is that
I'd
with
give it a watch.
Sorry. Is that with what's his face?
Robin Williams?
Yes.
Yeah. It's when Peter Pan leaves Neverland, he becomes like this old, like your classic adult and all that, and then Hook ends up kidnapping his kids, and he has to go back to Neverland, and he basically has to rediscover like the childhood magic of it and all that, and it's a really good movie.
Didn't they have like a really fancy cake?
Really fancy what?
Cake?
Remember the fancy cake?
Sounds familiar.
I don't remember. But also the guy that does Hook also knocks it out of the park. I think it was some famous actor. I can't remember who exactly it was, but it was a good movie. Would recommend. Dustin Hoffman, that's his name.
Oh, shoot.
And it was a Steven Spielberg film.
How did this not do better?
And Julia Roberts was Tinkerbell. I forgot about that, my goodness. Mike, what's your number one? Bring us on home.
Okay, so my number one, this is a tragedy, has a 46% critic score, which, you know, for the genre makes sense. 58% audience score, which is just outrageous because I think this is one of the best movies in the 2000s comedy genre. It is called Sex Drive, and it is a pun. It is an amazing pun because it's a movie about some teenagers who steal their brother's car, or steals one of the brother's cars. They're not brothers, but one of them has a brother, and they steal his car. Anyway, steal his super cool Dodge. It might be a Charger, Challenger, one of the two. And they driving across country so that this nerdy kid can meet the girl he's been chatting online with. Sex Drive. It's like a road trip movie. And the girl next door ends up going with them. And it is so funny. It is consistently killer gags. Seth Green plays an Amish gentleman in the movie, and I normally can't stand Seth Green, but he's hysterically funny in this movie. Fall Out Boy cameos just because they were friends with Seth Green, so we just got him to come cameo. The character, the best friend, is played by his name Duke Clark. Clark Duke.
Plop.
Probably most well known as Dwight Jr. And also James Marsden, who's not like the most well known guy, but he's not nobody. Plays the older brother. And I've always had a soft spot for coming of age movies about dudes in high school who are like doing insane things to try and get laid, and then the premise of the movie is that like sex might not actually be the end all be all that we've made it up to be in our heads. I think this one does a pretty good job doing that. And so even though it like kind of presents itself as super raunchy, it's a little raunchy for sure. It's a comedy. That's, that comes with the territory. But it's not like a horrendously sexual movie the whole way through. And
Not
the
like
jokes
American
are
Pie?
just... Honestly, I still say that American Pie gets a bad rap. And if you guys refuse to watch it, you don't have a way of rebutting me.
I can't watch it now that I'm married. I told you, as I watched it for all the wrong reasons back in the day.
And then the funny thing is, if you were watching that movie which admittedly I did too, you have to really be focusing to like get past how unbelievably funny the topless scenes in American Pie are. Because like I watched those movies most recently with Hot Kyle, and like those scenes were really uncomfortable for like 8 seconds.
The cheat codes.
But they were so hysterically funny that it stopped being uncomfortable because the comedy is so intense that it like the raunch is like almost removed from it. It becomes non-sexual because it's so comedic. And that's my take on all 4 of the American Pie movies, and I'll die on this hill. But Sex Drive, less raunchy, but not as funny when it does use raunch. So
All I remember is the Amish guy.
And honestly, yeah, that's Seth Green, and I thought he was absolutely I thought he knocked it out of the park in that movie. And I normally don't like him, so that's like high praise from me.
What were you gonna say, Lou?
No, never mind.
All right. Sounds good. You guys got any honorable mentions?
Spiral from the Book of Saw.
One
Chronicles of Riddick.
Chronicles of Riddick.
Ooh.
I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen it.
It's cheesy.
They made a video game about that too.
I saw that, yeah.
One I loved as a kid that I definitely am not going to go back to watch is the second Jurassic Park movie. Just as a kid, being a sicko, I love the carnage of the T-Rex just going to San Fran or LA, wherever it landed, and then just wreaking havoc on the population. But I've heard I don't think I'm gonna go back and watch it. I'm just gonna let that one live in my head. Is what I'm coming down to.
Mm-hmm.
What it's coming down to. Is that it? No more honorable mentions?
This was a hard list, man.
I got Hocus Pocus. Got a 41 Rotten Tomatoes. It's a classic.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about throwing in Facing the Giants in there, just because like it's a huge critic versus audience score. It's a huge rating it would fit, but I did not. Did not end up in the end zone.
I'm delighted that Alien Romulus could not make the cut with an 80 critic, 85 audience score.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what was its critic? Because I'm pretty sure Facing the Giants or something like that. It was just that bad critically.
No, it's 80 critic, 85 audience.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them broke a B technically.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking Air Bud.
Classic. I think a lot of kids' movies fall under
40.
this.
Short Circuit 2, I remember being really great as a child, but I've since learned that the Indian guy in that, just a white guy doing brownface, so I didn't really feel super comfortable putting it on the list. But I got to imagine that doesn't rank very high.
Also, I'm pretty sure the Spy Kids movies didn't rank high in those. I love those as a kid, all 3 of them.
I have never seen that movie.
Dude, the freaking unreasonably stacked cast for that whole series.
Yeah, for sure.
Allegedly, oh my gosh, what's his name? He plays the president in 3. He's in one of the.
Oh, it's it's
Clooney.
really Sylvester
Jeez.
Stallone. What's his name?
George Clooney's the
Yep.
guy I'm thinking of. I heard that he saw the movie and was like, "This is gonna be the end of my career."
I don't think anyone was taking it that seriously, and it was huge
No.
back in the day. Like that was
Yeah.
had the kids
Yeah.
by
The
storm.
mom and the dad were insanely like big names. The grandpa was the guy who played Khan in Wrath of Khan. He was like a massive name.
Had Machete.
Selma Hayek, Machete.
Steve Buscemi in 2 and 3.
Yep. Technically, he cameoed in 2 and 3. Yep.
He can't. It was more of a
no,
cameo
no.
in 3, but he had a lot.
Yeah,
too.
but he was there. The girl from Hannah Montana, who's now in the spinoff of Young Sheldon, Emily Osment.
Yep, she's there. Junie was in Wizards of Waverly Place, and I think a couple other things.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone. I know we already kind of mentioned
Mm-hmm.
him, but Sylvester Stallone and George Clooney, like,
Mm-hmm.
what?
I remember I thought like those graphics were so good back in the day for 3D. Oh my gosh, they're so bad.
Dude, freaking Joe loves that movie. It has got to be my
It's-
least favorite movie that she likes. It's the worst. We watch that movie all the freaking time.
Do you have the 3D glasses? Because I know I've heard your sister tell the story that you lost them
Freaking
very
went
quick.
on Amazon to buy 3D, like old school 3D glasses, and then Joe's like, "You gotta wear them." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it."
All right. Well, let us know what your guys' favorite bad movies are down below. We won't hold you to any, percentage or box office flops. But this next week's topic comes from It's Beckett. She commented a few episodes ago, and she wants to know if the world ends in an apocalypse and you can only save five pieces of entertainment for the rest of your life to have and enjoy. What would those be? And I'll let you guys have one franchise / band / video game series. Other than that, it has to be one of something.
Oh, we get to have one full, like, you can have a full discography
so you can
or
be like,
full.
Yep, I want
Okay.
Sum 41, all their albums, but then the rest have to be singles. Or I want one book series, and the rest have to be singles. So, gonna kind of make it interesting
What about
that
like
way.
TV shows?
Ooh,
Can I get the whole TV show, or do I have to get first season?
I feel like it would have to be season, and then just because weight it, so it's season or a full TV show.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what I'm.
Otherwise, it'd be a lot of like TV shows instead of movies. I feel like so. I feel like that's how it's gonna kind of balance it out. But that's what we'll be talking about. Other than
Excited.
that, should be a good one. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Like I said, let us know what you think. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, whether on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. I don't know if Apple Podcasts have comments. I'm just assuming they've caught up. If not, they'll get there in a few years. That's what Apple does. Other than that, catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Throw a little shade right at the end, Robert. I love it.
Yep. Maybe forget the rest of my outro because I was too busy throwing shade.